What's up, friends? Today's episode was a lot of fun. Hanging with Dena Schools from the So This Is Me Trying podcast was a blast. Really enjoyed her vibrant energy, and you should totally check out her show. The editing on this episode was also fun. Our conversation was interrupted by technical difficulties or maybe a ghost. Before we start, please take some time to support both me and Dana's podcast. You'll find her links in the description, and as always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at IZUZU Rodeo. Here's Oakcliff Beach number 20. Psychics, clairvoyance, technical difficulties, or a ghost.
Idea how to use this thing.
Well,
Yeah.
first
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
let
like,
you know. Oh, the bot is already live. If you want me to pause it or anything, let me know.
okay.
I went ahead and turned it on because as you see, most of the time what happens is I'll turn it on and it'll make this weird automated voice. It'll say now recording, and then everyone's like, "Oh, okay, okay."
We're really doing it. It's really happening.
That's how it feels, or it feels like I don't know, I forgot what's the words. You remember when they were checking on everybody's phones back in the day and tapping in? It felt like that.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, oh snap, they're listening to me.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm chilling. I just got out the hyperdrive, or I just got off work, and I've had the
Yep.
time to decompress, so now I can relax and hang.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. I was ready for 5 o'clock to come along because it was definitely a long week. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank God for the weekends. No.
absolutely.
Um
Absolutely.
I wanted to first tell you I really enjoyed just first of all, I enjoy your energy in general, and I love how laid back and just I've only listened to your nostalgia episode. I'm not sure if there's
Uh-huh.
any others at the moment, but I enjoy the chill of your show. I enjoy it a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've got like I just I think I just posted like my 12th episode or 11, I don't know, whatever. Wherever I'm at with this whole podcast thing. But yeah, I mean that's kind of like that's just me. That's just kind of my style. Like I I think I kind of accidentally stumbled into the podcast world and
Hmm.
but yeah, I just was like, oh well, am I gonna be structured and like, some of these podcasters are like super professional, and I kind of feel like I'm still like amateur hour a little bit, where I'm just like, well, most of the time it's like family or friends that I have on, and we just kind of wing it, and it's like, all right, well, let's just talk about this and see where the
Oh, you dropped out. Where'd you go?
uh oh, hello.
Okay. All right. Welcome back.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I was talking, and then I was like, what? Like, did I?
So the drawback to doing this remotely is you got all these different weird kinks
Oh
and
yeah,
things on the fritz. My
yep,
favorite one is when you're in the middle of explaining yourself like that and you just
yep,
drop out.
yep. It happens
But
all the
if you
time.
remember where you were, please
Oh
continue.
gosh, I have no idea. I went on like
Let's
I ramble, so sometimes you have to cue the music and be like, all right, stop. I asked. I didn't need a whole explanation for one answer. But yeah, I don't even know where I left off, um, but yeah,
you
I
were
mean, I
telling
just
me you were telling me what brought you, or basically how you got your podcast bug.
oh yeah, I mean, I just think like the state of the world just kind of, brought me to podcasting. This is kind of like an outlet and it's like something to do. And I think like just reconnecting with people, it kind of gave me a really good opportunity to reconnect with friends and family and just kind of like have this really cool excuse and be like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? Let's talk about, whatever. Um, and yeah, it's just really kind of cool. It's kind of neat to be like part of the podcast community now. So
It's interesting because there's so many of us, and what's also cool is there's a lot of us that are just it's good energy. Look, half the
yeah,
people that are retweeting I really like sitting down with people and actually meeting them because you get to
Yes,
know new people. It's something fun about it. I don't know what it is,
it
but I'm really
is.
enjoying it.
I'm having a blast with it. I mean,
Oh,
hello.
yes,
Can you can hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
All right,
Man, the
so
joys
fourth
of
time the charm.
technology. Man, I am so sorry. Like it's
It's
just
all
oh, I
good.
feel like
I
I
understand.
believe it wouldn't be a podcast recording if there wasn't some sort of technical difficulty. Like I feel like it happens to me all the time.
Well, the funniest part now is I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna, because normally what I do is I'll when I'm editing, if there's ever a technical difficulty, I will edit it to where it doesn't seem like it's taking forever and it's explained in itself and it
Yeah.
feels entertaining. Just like, oh, you dropped out, you dropped out, and then I'll bring it back. And well, we're on like take 4, and I don't I don't know if I want to have to
Oh
stop,
man.
but it's all good.
Sorry.
No sorry needed. There was one cast I had. I remember it was we had I couldn't understand him because the sound quality was really bad, and of course you try again. So regardless, if we can hang out, we can hang out. If not, there's always tomorrow or the next day.
Exactly. Absolutely.
But
Well, we'll keep continuing on in hopes that, the internet and cell phone gods will just kind of cooperate for the rest of the time.
okay, so we're gonna do this again. Your intro, your podcasting bug, or better yet, how about you tell us, or not us, tell me about your show.
Yeah, I mean, my show is pretty like I kind of it's kind of hard to explain. I I think like my genuine intention with my podcast is, I really wanted to like and I still do like want to get different people on and talk about different things. I didn't want to be so one dimensional or be like, oh, hers this sounds like the party girl podcast where all they're doing is like, drinking and goofing off. So I try to be structured when I can. And I have some stuff that like I want to record with other people, but it's just like trying to coordinate and like, um, get people on and, you get people that are like, okay, yeah, we can do it XYZ day. And then they like fall off or, they can't do it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, like my podcast is a little bit of everything. You hear me?
I can.
I literally I started talking and I went, let me know if you can still hear me. And then I didn't hear anything. I was like, oh gosh, here we go again. Um, so I'm wondering if it's like my location in general. Because it says I'm connected to Wi-Fi now. So I don't know if it's just maybe where I am located that is causing the issue.
Well, we will. What I'll say is, if we get to the 10th time, then we will figure something else out.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, there is a way to do this via Anchor. When, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't looked into it. I've been using this bot for the
Hmm.
longest, and if I need to, I can figure out like a quick makeshift thing, or we can reschedule it when I find that one thing. But okay,
Okay.
we're gonna act like
Sounds
nothing
good.
happened past this,
Okay.
and
Sounds
we're
good.
gonna we're just gonna run it and we're gonna go. So
Okay.
I'm still gonna say fifth time's the charm though.
Oh goodness.
But um, for me, what brought me into podcasting, I got my podcasting bug actually before COVID hit. Um,
Okay.
um, there was there's a cast that I don't speak of. It's kind of like the Voldemort of cast around here in this little community because it'll probably get us canceled in the future. But but the fact that I'm bringing light to it is that means some kid in the future is gonna find it and look it up and that's how I'll be canceled. It'll all go down there from there, probably. But all that to say is, I got my bug because me and my friends, we were always, oh, you fell out again. No. You return.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. I'm just like trying. I don't know if it's like I have no idea. And the thing is like I've been having issues with my phone all day today. So I don't know if like it's like that conspiracy of like Apple did an update and now everyone's phones are effing up. So because like
Oh, it could be
everything
because you're Apple and I got a Galaxy, and they're just like, nope,
it
we don't want this to
maybe,
go
yeah.
down.
Yeah. That's probably what
Or
my husband would say because he's a Samsung guy and he's like I don't that's like our big rival. He's like I don't understand how you have an Apple.
I'm
But
actually
yeah.
still waiting for you to say you're a punk, and we've just been exiting in and out just to make you go, ha ha. No.
No. Definitely I'm not technology savvy at all. So
That's actually what I say at work. I always go, man, I wonder if they're watching me, but then I start thinking they always ask me to come and do the IT on all the stuff here. And I'm pretty sure they'll see that as spending too much money. So nah.
Oh man. But yeah, so you were talking about like, your podcast, bug. Um
My podcast bug was because me and my friends, we were always listening to different podcasts. Joey Diaz and of course Rogan. That's the freaking dad of podcasts.
mhm.
And then basically we just said, you know what, let's do it. And for me, I started my own segment because I didn't want us to fall off. So I made it my own thing to just make sure I had my own show so I could just keep going back and keep being consistent with it.
Yeah.
And now it's just a thing that I do because I want to I want to talk to artists. I want to talk to artists from my city. I want to talk to people all around. I'm having a blast with it and meeting people, learning new things, and it is something that I'm planning on. I kind of want to do this until I die. I want to be on my deathbed, and that my last thing I do is make a song and report a podcast. I'm adding that to my to die do list.
I mean, hey, that's a kind of the beauty of like I don't know, I guess the world that we live in now is that you can have it's kind of neat like you can have these conversations and have them recorded and displayed all over the world and it's just really neat like it's just I mean that's kind of like I don't really I think I was inspired by a friend because he started a podcast and I was like oh okay and he was like oh come on mine and we'll talk about music because I love music and him and I have mutual taste in music and that's kind of like what inspired me was like oh wow this is really cool like I've got plenty of friends that would love to come up here and do this um but yeah it's just it's really cool it's just you know it's definitely like I said like it's not something I thought that I would have gotten into like a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of music are do you? Well, that's a weird question because I don't think anyone really has a favorite. Yeah, well, you might. But what's your? If you had to just right off the bat, what's your favorite music
I would
genre
say
or
like probably
song?
I would probably say indie music. I feel like I gravitate and I pull more from that genre than I do from a lot of stuff. I just always seem to find bands that I like. But I love everything. Really in actuality. Like if you were to see my Amazon playlist, you'd be like, what is going why do you have Hamilton and then Jay-Z and then like some weird country song and now you've got like, like I'm all over the place with music.
And
Um
that's probably why I would see you saying indie because indie in itself is like every genre because I
yes.
mean indie is indie band and you get
Yep.
to hear that raw. The first time they're recording, it might not everyone's big flavor is lo-fi hip hop or
Yep.
just the grunge where you can't hear anything and it's just like yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a band that it's like my pegged as my favorite band. And I've talked about them on my podcast. I've talked to them on another friend's podcast. We actually did like a whole podcast just dedicated to this band, but they're called The Best. They're from New Zealand.
Hmm.
And they're just really cool. Like they just have like this very, I wouldn't say so much vintage. I mean, they're definitely unique in their own way. But it's kind of like mellow pop, like mellow, pop rock. Like it's kind of hard to describe. You would just have to listen to them. But what's really cool about them is that the type of instruments that they use, and they're very self-produced. So
Hmm.
like, they don't have like a major label, or they do all they recorded their first album in their home. Like, I mean, just, and they use like just very vintage style instruments, and it just kind of has this like warm tone to it that it's just really hard to explain, but it's just kind of like organic and raw, and they're just my favorite. Like it's one of
When
those
you
things
say
that
a
you
vintage instrument, what
like.
what's a vintage instrument?
Well, I mean, I guess it's just like from them, it's like because they, being in New England, like, sorry, New Zealand, they have like this weird thing. I don't know if it's because of their power, but they kind of had to like reconstruct their own amps
Mm,
to like make them work with guitars. And it just sounds different. Like just the type of I don't know what it is. It's just how, I don't know how it's, if it's how it's recorded. But they just sound very, you could just hear it in the music. Like you can just hear it like, throughout. It's just kind of like this warm, worn type of feeling. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so
yeah.
hard to explain, but
They're called their name is The Best though, correct?
yes, the best.
What you should do later on, or either send it to me,
Hmm.
or there's a channel in the Discord called Music.
Okay.
Feel free to share it there, and we like check out everything that's posted there majority of the time until it
Nice.
gets
Okay.
overloaded.
Oh, yeah, I will throw something up there. Yeah, it's they're kind of like my favorite band right now. But I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm all over the place with music. There's not one type of genre that I don't enjoy. I mean, I could pick something from each category and be like, oh yeah, like I love, this,
That's exactly how I am. It used to be my genre that I didn't get into was techno, but I had to find the correct techno. If it's the techno where all you get is just a kick drum and a hi hat, and it's like boom, tss, 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 I'm just like, after maybe a minute of this, I'm just like, please change
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and originally it's funny because I couldn't get into country at first, but then I had to go find a place that was just actually playing more country. It was a Dairy Queen off this farm to market road, and I just went there, and I would go there for lunch for a whole month, and all they did was play country music. And by the end of that month, I found myself singing "There's a Tear in My Beer," and,
That's
and
awesome. Yeah, I
there
appreciate.
was this. Oh, what's up?
Oh no, I said I appreciate like early 90s country. Like I don't know if I can get down with some of the new stuff now, but like, man, you put on some like early 90s country. That's where it's at.
I don't know if I'm listening to early '90s or not, but I do know when they. Well, I'm gonna call it an abomination, but I'm pretty sure someone will be like, "Oh, how dare you!" But the country trap rap, I just don't know. It's just like, I don't know if I could do that one.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think I could do that one either. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe after
Actually,
a couple of drinks or something, I might like be like, "Oh yeah,
I
okay."
take it back. I just had a couple songs pop in my mind because of course there's Old Town Road, and then there's
Oh
another
yeah.
song where there's like it's like a do a two step, and that one's actually pretty cool too. So I'm saying all this, but there's actually some good songs to like every genre when you really think
Yeah.
about it. You just got to
There
get in
really
there
is.
and give it a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I've never been that type of person. Like, I mean, I don't know. I appreciate music of all types. I don't, I've never been like cut myself off and be like, no, I can't listen to that because, whatever. Like, I listen to, I mean, you give me a song, I'm going to listen to it. You know what I mean? Like, whether I like it, by the time it ends, I don't know if I'll like it or not, but I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't listen to that because whatever. You know what I mean?
My biggest issue that I have is always critiquing shit, and I need to stop that because most of the time it's just like I just want to show you a song. I didn't really care about what you had to say about the song. Well, outside
Yeah.
of it, was it good? But no, I remember my mom. We were in the car and it was some old '90s, maybe '90s or maybe late '80s hip hop song on. And for me,
Okay.
when you make music, you sometimes start focusing in on other instruments, and for sometimes for like the average listener, they don't care if there's a crash being played too much. There was some song, I forgot what it was, but they kept playing the crash when you're like drumming. It kept going boom, and then it just kept annoying me. And I remember my mom telling me to shut up because she was like, "Hey, nobody listen to that. Just shut up."
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's too, like, if you're a musician and music is, something that you are really hyper focused in, like, yeah, I could see, like, finding I actually have a friend of mine, he has a podcast as well. It's called Pedestrian at Best, and
Hmm.
him and I we're actually friends in real life, and we've been friends for years, but him and I are like that because he's a musician and I'm more of a lyric person, and he's kind of, when we listen to the same song, he's listening to the melodies and the chord changes and the, everything, and I'm listening to the lyrics. So, and we will both be, same song, and we'll both kind of take something different from it. And or he'll be like, oh, I got to go back and listen to the lyrics. I'm like, were you not listening to the song the whole time? Like, what do you mean? Like, you got to go back and listen to the lyrics. Were you
There's
not
levels to
listening?
this.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just kind of funny because we talk about music a lot, him and I, and that's always how it is. Like, he finds tunes into the actual music itself, and I'm kind of like, well, what are they talking about? You know what I mean? Like, what's the message behind this song? So yeah, it's kind of cool.
And it's both because there are songs where you're just like, I love the feel of this, and you
Mm-hmm.
are obsessed with the feel of it. And there was an old saying someone would say, or it's not even old, it's always said, you don't start hearing the lyrics until, was it when the lyrics don't come until your heart breaks? Or I think that's an old what's Gerald Way and them, what is that band, what is that band, My
Oh, the
Chemical
third.
Romance.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Huh.
there's a song where they're like, I don't remember the lyric immediately, but the point is the concept was you understand or you start opening up more and listening to the actual words when you're basically you feel pain. And
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
it's a thing. It's layered. It's layered. Most people are there in the beginning for the feeling and maybe that hook. And it's not until maybe the third listen where they start paying attention to the lyrics. Of
Exactly.
course, it's different people,
Yeah.
and like even for another thing, because me and my brother, when we're making it, because I mean I'm not the best at drums, but when I compare it to him, he's way better at it. So sometimes when we're
Mm-hmm.
making songs, I'll go through, put the melodies down, then I'll shoot it to him, and he'll lay the drums down, and or I'll make some drums that are crappy, and he'll be like, hey, let me tune those drums up for you. But it's like there's even that. There's so many layers to this music crap.
Yeah, there is so many layers, and you're right about that. The whole, like, not, some, because there's songs that, like, it's funny, like, how music or your mood reflects the type of music that you listen to. I'll go through periods of time where, if I'm in a funk or if I'm feeling some sort of way, I seem to gravitate more towards deeper songs, and then, like, and then it's funny, like, 3 days later I'm like, "Ugh, I don't even want to listen." You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to listen to this song anymore. I'm over this song. Like, um so yeah, it's just funny how music plays that part, in everyone's life. I mean, I couldn't go a day without listening to music.
I it's crazy because one of the biggest, not debates, but one of the questions when I was younger was, could I live without my iPod? And as I've progressed in life, I found myself just making music in my head when I'm not listening to things. And now I know that I can live without it because I'm always making music in my head when I'm working,
Yeah.
especially if I get into a good groove. It's like the stuff just starts. It just starts, and
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. But I mean, yes, I would if there was a song, if there was an album I had to listen to for the rest of my life, I would pick this original soundtrack from a video game called Near Automata. It just captures so many different feels for me. It's just it does it for me, and I would listen to that until the end of time. If I had to choose, what would be your album if you had to choose?
If I had to choose an album to listen to for the rest of my life, it would be I know it sounds crazy. It would be the soundtrack to Garden State. I don't know if you've ever watched Garden State before.
I
Um,
have not, but I will
oh
check it
my,
out.
you definitely should. It's a really good indie movie. It's got Zach Braff in it, Natalie Portman. It's funny because I talked about this on my podcast I recorded last night, but the soundtrack to that, it's so awesome. Like, and it's got a little bit of everything. And I feel like if that was what I had to, because that it's not just one type of genre or one type of, it's not just one person. It's like an array of people. But like, I,
Hmm.
I love that soundtrack. Like that soundtrack changed my life type of feeling. So yeah, I guess if I had to pick one, that would be it because there's like there's a little bit of everything on there. I think Coldplay, The Shins, Simon and Garfunkel. Um, there's a couple of really good people up there. The name slips me right now, but it's an incredible movie. But the soundtrack itself is like just as equally incredible as the movie. And sometimes
You
it's
know,
very
you saying that also makes me. I gotta have a good second runner up. If I'm gonna pick another soundtrack, especially based on a movie, I gotta go with Guardians of the Galaxy. One
yeah. That's
soundtrack.
that's a good one. Yes, that's a really good one. Yeah, yeah. That movie had some incredible music in it for sure. See, and I always like I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. Like I always had this vision in my head that like if I ever like wrote and directed a movie, like I would want to be
Hmm.
in charge of the soundtrack and I want to be in charge of what song is being played at what scene. Um and like I'm like, man, that's such a cool job. Like I would kick ass at that job. Like if I could get into the movie business and be like, I'm gonna
That's
be
one of
that
my goals
person.
too.
Yeah.
I want. That's what I want to match scenes with the music. I want to capture
Yes.
that feeling. And it's crazy because I'm trying to make sure I don't butcher this word when I say it. I have synesthesia or synesthesia, or look it up. It's when you can get different feelings from when you, or feelings or different like taste, or you hear things, or you see things when you're listening to other things, or you're receiving different information. So if you, for instance, if you're listening to music, for me, this is what mine is. I'm listening to music, I see different colors. I have a
Okay.
friend, when they listen to different instruments, they taste them. I have another person who, well, actually another one of mine, I think this is from childhood. Certain shapes, they're automatically a certain color because of those tiles we used to mess with when we were younger. But
Wow.
but
That's
it
crazy. I mean, that's super cool. Like, I mean, what a cool like I mean, I say superpower because I mean that's definitely unique. Like that's really cool. That's really cool. Like
it's a
I'm
fun
like
thing.
yeah. Like was it I have photos whatever I'm probably not gonna say it right here. I have photogenic memory. There we go.
That's a
um
superpower in itself.
yeah, like that's something like and I do like I'm I've always like been that way like if I like focus on something for a little bit of time like I've got very vivid thoughts, I guess you can say, like very detailed. So like I can memorize things like in detail. And I think that's part of the reason probably why I have such like I have very vivid dreams too because of that. Um,
Ooh, okay. So that just populated two questions. First
okay.
one, do you have a memory where you like when you use your photogenic memory? Like, what's an iconic memory of you using your photogenic memory?
Oh man. Um, I don't know. I have to. That's a good one. That's a good one to make me have to think for a minute. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just like I don't know if I can remember like a specific time or moment, but I mean, I think I'm always been like I can tell when something's off. Like I don't know. It's like hard to explain. I'm trying to think of the time that's come in handy. It comes in handy with work. I can tell you that because I can um I can remember things and situations pretty clearly. I'll have to come we'll have to round back to that one. You'll have to give me a minute to think on that one because
You probably need photos for it. That's just a joke. Ha ha.
probably
No.
yeah.
The second question that populated, because when it comes to vivid dreams, the
hmm
one of the things that I do is I play around with the different cycles so I can see how I can activate when I dream and whatnot.
Okay.
And and I guess well, how do you normally I guess activate your vivid dreams? And when you say vivid, are you also referring about lucid dreams as well?
Yeah, I mean, ow, I just hit my foot.
Good.
Yeah. I think like I fall asleep very heavy very fast. So I don't know if
Hmm.
that's like, something I should worry about. But like normally I feel like I have the most vivid and memorable dreams probably in the early morning hours. So and I used to get like it's weird because like when I would first drift into sleep, like I would dream right off the bat. And I don't know if it's so much like
Mm.
dreaming or like um those were always the instances in which I had experienced deja vu later on, if that makes any sense. Like so like when I first fall asleep and I would have thoughts or images or stuff like pop into my head or whatever I was thinking about kind of like start coming to life.
Hmm.
Um those are always the moments where I've any time in my life that I've experienced deja vu, that it's always in that's those are the times I experience deja vu, if that makes any sense. Like um, it's when I first fall asleep. It's whatever images first come to my head when I first drift off to sleep. But all the vivid stuff is normally, like I said, like in the early morning hours or like right before I wake up. Is when I seem to have the most vivid um and the most detailed dreams. Almost to a point where like I mean I can hear music and I can I can
Mm.
tell you what color the couch was or what color dress I was wearing or you know what I mean or what the other person was wearing, to a T, like just to kind of manifest that whole imagery. Um but yeah, just very detailed dreams. So,
That's how
um
That's how I am when I sleep properly because there's well, not only that, because I probably, like I said, I'm no expert because you know how we have to say that so we don't whatever, you know how that
yeah,
goes.
uh-huh. Yeah.
But what I typically do is I will try to see if I can get around 90 minutes if I'm just like there's sometimes there's horrible sleep patterns where I'm going to bed at 5 and I got to get up in the next hour. Um
Yeah.
but if I can factor it in where I'm going through those different cycles, eventually there's like another cycle where I'll hit the REM sleep,
Okay.
and sometimes I'll have multiple dreams in the night, and I don't know if it's because I'm allowing myself to get more sleep, or if it's just that whole you allowed yourself to drift. And I
Yeah.
really can't think of any times where I've had dreams like right off the bat. That would be cool too. It'd be cool if your whole sleep was dreams. I would think that would be really awesome.
I mean, I feel like I've gone through nights where I feel like I've dreamed all night long. Like, I mean, and I dream. I mean, I know I dream every night, and I can pretty much probably wake up and remember one or two of the dreams that I've had while I was asleep. And it's funny because when I talk to my husband, he never remembers any of his dreams, and it makes me wonder a little bit. Like, he's I mean, he's restless, a restless sleeper. I'm not saying I'm not restless, because I can be restless. But I sometimes refer back, because him and I have had this conversation before, um, where I had taken psychology in college, 1 and 2, and I can't remember which one it was, but we had learned about dreaming and the REM cycle, and what they think is going on with the brain while you're
Hmm.
dreaming and going through all these cycles, and how you pretty much your brain is just emitting all of these chemicals, like fire wrapping chemicals, while you're asleep. And sometimes, like, these chemicals can burrow in different parts of your body, like these tiny little minicules. And I mean, it can go into like the tiniest little vessel, like, in your fingertip, or in your nail, or in the
That's
crooked of your
crazy.
arm, or sometimes, they said that, like, sometimes if people dream about getting hurt, like if they hurt their arm or hurt their leg, or sometimes you can feel that pain. And they pretty much means that, like, the chemicals are that's what's causing that reaction, is like the chemicals are burying to your arm, and that's why
Mm.
you're feeling. But they also have thought, the theory is that, if you move a lot, those chemicals dissipate very quickly, just as quickly as they're getting fired out, they're disappearing just as equally as quick. So it's like this constant admission of, like, these chemicals that your body's producing, and then disappearing and producing and disappearing, and it's just this whole cycle that happens. And the theory behind that is that sometimes those chemicals are actually the dream, and so if you move, then they go away. So that's why
Mm.
the theory of why you can't remember. um and so sometimes I think with my husband, because he does move around so much, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's part of the problem, is like, wherever these chemicals are going, you're shaking them away so quickly that you can't remember. But that's a theory. That's not, there's a lot of theories in the medical
I'm
and
totally
science
down to
world,
try it out.
you know. Yeah.
I think I don't think I have that problem. I don't know if I'm a kicker. That's the one of the things. If you remember if your parents called you a kicker when you sleep, that should answer that question. But I know for me, I think I just sleep and I'm not moving at all. And it's I don't know, I'm willing to try it out, man. It sounds like I've
Yeah,
always
I
wanted
mean,
to fall asleep in one of those
yeah.
sensory deprivation tanks.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'd be able to handle that, though. I might. I know it's like, in theory, like it's supposed to, like, ground you and desensitize, and like this whole, like, to me, I feel like it would make me have an anxiety attack. Like, it would be too, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, to me, I'm that type of person. It's like I will probably freak out, and, like, you know, I'm too relaxed. What's happening? Like, it's just, but that's because I'm that type of person. Um, but yeah,
Do
it's
you
just,
have a dream that you remember? What's a very memorable dream that you just either you kept in your mind or what's a memorable dream of yours?
man. So one that sticks out that I can't ever forget, and I don't know why, and this has been like a decade ago at this point, but excuse me, old people, hashtag old. Um, um, I had briefly dated this, like, bad boy in college. Like, when I say briefly, like, probably maybe a overexpand of like a month, not even. And but like, he I don't know, I had a dream about him, and I had this I'm always, my husband says that I'm very, he said to say clairvoyant. I like
Mm,
to say that I'm very like sensitive to situations where like I know I know something's wrong. Like I can sense it or I can predict it. Um it's I have funny stories with that, but I knew that like he was no good. Obviously, for obvious reasons, but more so of like I kind of knew that he was like talking to another girl at the same time. Um
mm.
and so like I had a dream about that and it was like and I can't and I'll never forget it. It's like one dream that I just don't ever forget, but like I like approached him and he was like I was in art school. And so he was painting or drawing pictures of this other girl and I like got mad and so I started ripping all of these pictures and paintings and drawings and all of these things and I just started ripping them into a million pieces and they started to float up to the sky and then as they were floating up to the sky they were catching on fire
Mm.
and like I just will it's just an image that I can never I just for some reason that just burnt into my head of like this imagery of that. It's this one dream of I'll never forget. It's such a weird one, but it's this one that I it just is very still vivid in my head. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I've like the imagery of it. I'm like, oh, that would be cool in a movie. I don't know. That would be like a cool moment, like to put in some like
It's a
movie.
lot
Like
better than
yeah,
the
that would be really
dream that I always tell
yeah.
people. It's
Oh yeah,
definitely a lot better than the one I tell people. Well, for
yeah.
me,
What's yours?
so well, actually recently when I actually go to sleep, I have a really cool one, but there's one in particular I tell because I tell people how I kind of enjoy nightmares because
Okay.
there's not many times where you fall asleep and you wake up and you're just like, "Oh my God. Oh my God." It's like an adrenaline. You wake up and
Yeah.
you're just that's probably not good for your heart, but it's just this it's an adrenaline rush that you just don't get from many things. But
Yeah. That's very
there's a
true.
there was this KRA show called Cyber Chase, and there was a villain on the show named Hacker. It's this green dude with this like really pointy chin and a bad wig on his head, and and all I remember is it was in my grandma's house and the dang he for some reason was there and he was just running through just off of just killing my whole family and it was just one of those weird things and it's just like that's the one I always stick with when it's like that was my nightmare and I don't know why I always have to retell it but it kind of sucks compared to the dreams that I've had recently but
Like
I always tell that one.
I mean that's a cool one. I mean, I guess on
No,
the
it's
flip side, I
not.
mean, it's like do you ever do you ever like when you dream, like do you ever go back to the same town? Like or like when you like say you dream about a city, do you go back to the same city or do you go to a different city? Do you ever have
I
you ever
I
experienced that
don't.
before?
I've never revisited the same city, but I tend to do this thing in my dreams where I jump from different within different time periods, and I've noticed
Okay.
there's always a lot of water. There's always a lot of water in some part of the dream. There's freaking water, and and
Interesting.
I know there was one that I had where I remember it was just like the weirdest shit ever. I think LeBron James was my dad in the dream, and
Nice.
I was driving. Oh, he was driving the car, and I think we were going to a game, and it was like about to rain. And what ended up happening was I remember he told me to get out of the car before we got to the actual, I guess the place where the guys go into for
Okay.
I don't know press coverage. But he was like, "Ooh, you smell like doo doo. Get out of the car and go clean yourself off." And and then it transitioned to me going to this like really big facility where it's just like everyone was it's this big old school, and I just remember walking around in the school, and there was like an other figure with me, something of the other. I don't know if it was like an angel or some kind of guardian or what. I just remember there was somebody with me along the way, and they were talking to me, telling me things like, um, I don't know. I think they were silent through the whole time. But the point is, I went through this room and there was like people making music, and everybody looked at me like, "Oh, it's you." Oh, it was just this weird dream where I was in this facility, and it was pouring down rain, and then I walked out of a building, and it got even larger. It was just this weird dream, and there was a bunch of water, and I remember touching this big red door, and alarm started blaring, and everybody started running out of nowhere going, "You touched that door? You touched that door? How dare you touch that door?" And I just woke up, I was like, what the hell did I just dream? Oh no, 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 you little no.
We were doing so good. Things were
Right,
going really
right.
great for a while, and I
Like,
don't.
that makes this episode though. Screw it. I'm gonna do what I can to edit this episode where it feels cool, so I can capture the idea and the struggle of it.
And the struggle, straight struggling. I feel like that's like the common theme of like all of my podcasts. Though like the last few ones I've done have been okay. But like it's always when I'm connecting with somebody else. There was one that we had done with another podcast group, and like by the 10th time I was like, okay, we're done. Like I like we'll try again later because we would it just the same. I'm like, maybe it's me. Maybe we have terrible internet or something. Maybe my kid's right when he's up there screaming about Fortnite. We're lagging. I'm lagging. We need better internet. Why can't we have
Well,
better
everybody's in the dang house pulling from the
internet?
same source, so I
And
would not be
yes,
surprised.
exactly. That's what my husband said. Well, everybody's home. What do you think everyone's doing? Everybody's on the damn internet. Oh man.
um,
But
but I want to ask you, outside of the times your husband was calling you clairvoyant, have you sensed any other times where you felt clairvoyant?
yeah, I mean, I definitely have had like, like I've had ghostly encounters, but I've also like had it times where like I knew I was right. Like, I mean, personal things like, I was in a relationship with somebody and I knew that they had cheated on me before they had even came out and cheated on me. I cuz I would have dreams. I like, and every time I would spend the night at his apartment, I would have a dream about another woman being there.
Mm,
And it got to a point where it was just like I knew he didn't have to tell me, and it wasn't anything by his behavior or anything how he was acting. It was just I knew because every time I would spend the night and I would be in his bedroom, I would have a dream about another woman being there, and it wasn't like an insecurity dream. It was like a like I just the feeling like I could just feel that energy. And I, finally, it came out that he
yeah.
had cheated on me, and he had brought another girl to his apartment, and she, so I could feel like it was like just that feeling of I could feel another woman's presence, like, you know what I mean? And it wasn't a matter of like, oh, her ratchet ass underwear were underneath the bed. It wasn't anything like that. You know what I mean? It was just like, like it was just, obviously he was
Well,
good
I
at
hear that
cleaning
a
up his
lot from
tracks,
women.
but like, I knew, like, and my gut, and normally, like, if I get a feeling, like most, probably 95 to 99.8%, I'm probably right. You know what I mean? Like, I like funny story that's on one of my other podcasts. We did a spooky
Hmm.
edition. But I knew that there was a woman in our home when we bought it. Because I just I picked up on another woman's energy, and like I could hear her talking at night. And come to find out, and bless her heart, but an older woman had died in this house.
Mm.
Um, I mean, it's
What was
not
that
like
experience
scary
like
or
for you?
anything. I mean,
Well,
I
and that's
just
crazy because they always, well, I think that's just because that's how the media portrays it, but
yeah,
they
ooh,
always portray it
spooky.
as it's
Yeah.
this terrifying thing.
No, like a lot of times, like I think like I think also too, like the older I've gotten and the more that I understand, um or the more I just kind of, it's not even like I become numb to it, but it's just kind of like, I mean, you ain't bothering me. And I think like I think now like I don't feel her, like I don't feel her here anymore, but when we first moved in, I felt her quite a bit. And I don't know if like going into the, because you know the whole topic of like paranormal and like
Yeah.
that whole theory and like you know, I think honestly like it could have just been residual, or she didn't know she had died, or you know what I mean, like sometimes people just get stuck in a, like a purgatory, you know what I mean, like if you believe in those
Yeah.
sorts of things. And
Have you have you seen the it's the Conjuring, I believe. Conjuring captures it really well, and definitely in part two. Um, but I know that's a little different because it's one of those situations where they always tie it to there's a bad spirit that gets basically connected to like a demon or something, and they host and they
yeah,
stay
yeah.
there, and they have to figure out how to basically let this spirit go somewhere else. And personally, how I feel about those things, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I like to stay with that statement of who am I to say that any of this shit is not real, and I'm not married to anything, and
Mhm.
it's just like I'd rather have my eyes just open than to sit there and be like, oh no, no, there's no
Yeah.
possible reason why there's popping at night when you're not doing a damn thing in your home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's just funny. I mean, I my so my brother had my brother had been in town for a couple weeks, and he had stayed with us on and off. And he said that you know, because it's just funny because we were talking about it, like, oh yeah, by the way, like the house is probably haunted. It's whatever, MBD. You know, you're fine. You're not. Nothing's gonna get you. And you know, and my brother was just like, "What? Hold on, rewind the tape 5 minutes. What are you talking about?" Like, and so like you know, I'm just like talking to him. I was like, "Yeah, like this, you know, whatever. Like this woman died here. Like it's no big deal. Like you're fine." And like, and he was just like, "What do you mean? Like you talk? You just told me you heard somebody walking." Like it was just funny. And so poor brother. I guess he was probably having a hard time falling asleep because he was like crashing out on the couch, and like he like I got up, and I was like, damn it, like I have like this little, because I guess I can be basic, and I have like this little stupid calendar thing that I change out every morning, and it's in my kitchen. And like I guess one of the blocks had fallen, and it was my husband's birthday. So it's kind of a funny story. So it was my husband's birthday. His birthday was on the 20th. And so I'm like half asleep filling out his birthday card. And so I didn't realize that the calendar the September part had fallen off. So I'm looking at it, it says June 20th. So I'm just like half asleep, no glasses on, like, you know, not even like sips of coffee. So good.
Are you back?
I'm back.
All right, sips of coffee, take two.
Sips of coffee. So yeah, so I write June 20th on the card instead of September 20th. Because I'm like autopilot looking at calendar, didn't realize that the little block piece had fallen. And so, and like, you know, my husband opened the card and he's like, "Oh, it says June 20th." And you know, I was like, I don't even know why I wrote that. Like I must have just been an autopilot, like. And I'm like looking at it, I was like, oh, it's because it said June 20th. And my brother's like, oh, so that's what fell last night. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, like I heard somebody rustling around in your kitchen, and I heard something fall. And I was too nervous to try to find out what it was. And he goes, I guess that's what fell. Because I know it said September, whatever, you know, when we went to bed. And somehow or another, like the little block part fell. And that's why I wrote June 20th in my husband's birthday card instead of September 20th. And and it was just funny how my brother was like, yeah, like I heard some rustling around in there, like somebody was
Well,
in there. And
is this pre you told him about the older lady dying in the home?
well, I mean, this was after the fact. So like I told him, like, you know, I was like,
See?
Yeah.
He has every right to be spooked out. He thinks somebody's trying to take his body. I would be spooked out too. What? You tell me something like that, and then night I hear wrestling in the kitchen. I'm gonna go in there with a crucifix and some fire and just be like, "No, be
The
gone,
power of
be
Christ
gone."
compels you. The power of I don't know if this is blessed water, but it's gonna have to do. Oh man, that's fun. Yeah, I just poor brother. I mean,
Do you believe in psychics, or have you ever been to a psychic?
I've been to a psychic once. I have had a psychic experience. I don't know. I don't know. I'm on the fence about psychics. Like I feel like if I believe in ghosts, I probably should believe in psychics, but I don't know. It's just hard to like it's hard for me. I don't know. The guy I went to was pretty good, but in the same time, like I'm kind of skeptic on stuff. Like I'm like 1 foot out the door. You know what I mean? It's like I'll listen to you. I'll
Yeah,
entertain it, but I
that's how
don't
most people are.
know if I 120% believe unless you really give me hard evidence, unless you really pick up on something that not a lot of people know about and I just met you, then I might, then I might be a believer. But I've yet to have that experience happen. But yeah, I did go to a psychic one time in New Hope, Pennsylvania. I don't know where we are located in the world. But there's this little town called New Hope, Pennsylvania, and there was a psychic that used to be there. And but yeah, I went to him one time. I was like a nervous wreck. Like, what is he gonna tell me about my life? Is he gonna tell me I'm gonna die? Because it's like, oh, I feel like everybody's like, that's the one.
No, tell me you're still there. Damn it.
Must be, maybe it's something that I'm doing. Maybe it's me.
Okay.
Maybe it's me. I'm like, maybe I'm hitting something. I'm like, am I hitting something?
What I think? You know what I think it is now? It's the damn. Okay, I don't want to call it. So if you
It's a ghost.
if you haven't seen the ghost or heard anything that's referenced to ghosts in some years, I don't want to claim it because I don't want this cast to be the thing where it's like I just casted the damn ghost back. I don't want that on my karma. So I'm gonna find I'm gonna find the holiest piece of wood near me, and I'm gonna knock on it. But just for a joke, I'm gonna say it's the ghost. I take it back.
Might be.
I take it back.
Yeah. It might be. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, because I've moved in two different locations, and I'm like, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm hitting something. Because I find it interesting because when I move my phone and I go to look at it, it reconnects again. I'm like, what is this about? I don't know.
Well, where we
Damn
left off
ghost.
was New Hope, Pennsylvania. And first, I just want to say, New Hope, Pennsylvania sounds like one of those towns with a lighthouse, and there's a little rocky wooden boat that's just in the gray water, just shaking back and forth. And it's never really bright there. It's always that constant gray. You know what I'm talking about. You know the scene I'm trying to portray.
Yeah, but it's totally not like that at all.
Oh, damn.
So, it is next to water, so it's on the Delaware River.
Well, it's Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So it's but yeah, it's I mean it's like this cool little like mile long hippie town that's like on the border of, obviously right on the Delaware River. It's super cute. They've got a really cool music scene, but I went to a psychic there. And it was an interesting experience. I mean, I definitely remember everything he said to me. I don't know if I 100% buy it. It was enough to impact me. But then how much of it was like, I still have this theory of like, how much of it was some guy in the back Googling me and you got a little earpiece and, like she used to live in New Jersey and, her credit could probably be a little bit better.
The psychic sitting there going,
he
you bought a lot of
made
furniture.
A comment about that. He was just like, in terms of health, you're pretty healthy, but like, I think you just need to get your financial situations on track and this, that, and the third. I'm like, this motherfucker pull up my credit report. Like, what is happening right now?
I will say, I haven't been to Oh man, no, no. Yo, you're back. You're back. Woo! You're back.
No,
You're back. Um, that was
I'm
the quickest. That was the quick readback. I was
yeah,
gonna.
there was
I
a
was
quick
gonna
one.
say. Um, I haven't been to a psychic on the East Coast, but I gotta do it now because I've been to a psychic in California. I've been to a
Okay.
psychic here in Texas, and I know I just wanna see the difference because the funny part about it is the psychic in California. You can tell that she gets a lot of people every day because she's like around the tourists. So she's when you get to her, if I'm not mistaken, the way the scene went, she either had a baby sitting in a playpen right here because she had a house right along the beach, and if I'm not mistaken, because I want to say she had the baby breastfeeding off her while she was getting ready to do it, but I'm pretty sure that's not how the story
Okay.
went. That's just with my imagery in my head. There was a little kid. She sat me at the table and said, "Okay, let's read." And I think it was like levels. It was tiers to the pricing. And you
Okay.
pay this amount, I just read your palm. You pay this amount, I do the card reading. You pay this amount. Something else. But when you go into it, you never really do a full on out reading. You always be like, okay, I'm just gonna pay for the bronze version because I already treat
Yeah.
psychics like they're horoscopes. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about horoscopes outside of the fact that everybody tends to have the same generalized horoscope. But um what's that? But yeah, that was California. Texas wasn't different. It was about the same. I had the card readings though, which is interesting. Like the whole getting your
The
cards read
tarot
to you.
cards. Yeah, the tarot cards are
Yeah,
cool.
that's an interesting one because the weird part about it is I don't know if it's like a thing where it's generalized or it just sounded like there was something I needed to hear at the moment because that's what it always is.
Yeah.
It feels like something you need to hear at that moment. So you just take it you take it how you take it.
Yeah, I mean that's very true because I feel like the psychic that I went to, it was a male psychic, but like he definitely told me like a few things that kind of um, struck a chord. The biggest was like, I lost one of my like best friends like in high school, like senior year. It
Hmm.
was a pretty traumatic episode, but like, he kind of was like, oh, there's somebody on.
Come back.
I really think it's like my phone. I think it's like when I move a certain way, it's like disconnecting me.
Mm. Okay. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give it three more tries. Uh, three more tries and two more tries. If it, because like
Sounds
I'm
good.
enjoying the conversation. I don't want to. I don't want to. It sucks because like I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I don't. Gosh, it's like it's like stupid iPhone because I have an iPhone.
Yeah, actually, you're right. That's what it is. It's the beef,
Yep,
man.
it's yep,
They're pissed at you for trying to cooperate with a galaxy that you don't
yep,
belong with.
yep. But yeah,
But
but
you were
oh yeah, I
sharing a
was saying.
story.
Oh, I went to Did I don't know if you heard the part where I went and saw a psychic when I was in Salem, Massachusetts.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So I forgot I did go see like a little strip mall. Like she was like a straight up strip mall psychic while I was visiting in Salem, Massachusetts. Like it was around Halloween time. So like they were just like, eating that shit up. But it was like the biggest crock of BS I'd ever went to. I was like, gosh, she just got like $50 out of me. Like, and of course, like I was with somebody at the time, so it was all like, "You guys are gonna be forever together, forever, and everyone's gonna be happy." And like you lied, that wasn't true. So,
Before the cutoff, you were telling me about a traumatic experience that you were getting through from
oh
a
yeah,
friend
yeah,
passing.
yeah, yeah. So like when I went to the psychic in the male psychic that I saw, um, you know,
Damn ghost. It's that damn ghost. It's not Apple versus Galaxy. It's the damn ghost.
in situations like that.
See, so if you started the thing, I was actually while you were away, I was up here ranting about how it's not Galaxy versus Apple, it's the damn ghost because you were about to talk about losing someone you cared about, and the damn ghost intervened.
And the ghost said, "Nope, we ain't talking about that." But yeah, it was just about that, like how, the psychic could sense that, he was coming through and, had a message for me that, that he was okay. And, and I started crying like a baby. So, but yeah. But then I was like, oh, you probably got me on that too. Cause it's like, well, probably a good portion of people that come through here probably have lost somebody and that's why they're here.
Yeah, they're seeking something that they're already looking for. Therefore, it's easier for for them to be open to it.
Absolutely. But
I do
yeah.
know that because my mother passed, and one of my well, he's kind of like well, he's my work dad. My work dad is an older guy. He was telling me and sharing his experience with his mother passing, and he was telling me how later on after like years later his mother came to him in a dream, and it was like a very lucid dream, where you felt you were there and you felt like she was actually there. And I mean, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I am. Oh, actually, I don't remember if it has or not. I think she has. But the point is, I don't. The way that he shared the experience as if it was not just a dream. Just being there in those moments, it felt like it was a higher state. Something I don't know, just something extraterrestrial about it. And
Yeah, and there's like an interesting theory on that about what happens to the mind when when we are asleep. The whole theory of that we only use 15% of our brain or something like that. Um
mhm,
and the theory is that when we are asleep that there's a possibility that our brain actually opens up. And that um the theory of um the other side being able to communicate with you while you're asleep because you're more receptive to it because your mind's more open. um and yeah, that's an interesting theory and thought process too of people proclaiming that they can communicate with the dead while they're asleep. And I've had those occasions happen too where I've had family members come to me, in my dreams, and they felt very real. I've also I've also had a dream that I've met God.
mhm,
But like God wasn't like the typical like God that we're all like led to believe. Like God was like a woman, and like, you know what I mean? Like it was like this
yeah.
very weird, and it felt very real. Like I for a minute where I almost thought like maybe I had died. You know what I mean? Like it was very um it was very like to me it was very real. And like when I woke up from it, I was like in tears. And like but I had this very strange feeling of like, I don't know, reassurance. Like it was a very weird dream. And I don't really proclaim to be a very religious or anything like that.
I want to ask you if you could try your best to describe what God was in your dream, or I guess give your best description of it. Or yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so so I have this weird thing, like, and I know I had asked you earlier, like, do you ever like go back to the same places when you have dreams? Like, because I do. Like when I dream about certain things, I go back to the same place. Like if I'm dreaming about a town, I go back to the same town. If I'm dreaming about a hotel, it could be a completely different situation and completely different people, but it's the same hotel. Um it's very weird how my thought process works. But
I think it's
in
cool.
this in this particular dream, it's very odd because I have a very big connection to my grandparents' home in New Jersey.
Hmm.
And so I have a lot of dreams about that home. I have a lot of dreams where I'm at that place. It's very odd. And in this particular time, I had a dream that I was there again, but this time I was outside, and we used to have like this garage that was turned into like an apartment that was attached to the house. And
Mm.
I'm like, walking through the field because they lived out in the country, and like walking up, and like what I was perceived to me as like a disciple had met me and was like, she's waiting for you. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those things. Like, in my dream, in my head, in my dream, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, so like, why am I being greeted like outside my grandparents' house by a friggin' man in a robe, and like, you know what I mean? This elaborate
Yeah.
getup. And so I like go in, and I'm like sitting there, and like there's all these disciples, which again, I'm not a very religious person. Like, I mean, I was raised Catholic, but like, at this point in my life, like we don't go to church every Sunday, and you know what I mean? Like that kind of deal.
Yeah, I know what you
But
mean.
like, yeah. And like, so like, all these disciples, and they're like in with like red velvet and like gold, and just very regal looking. And I'm like sitting there waiting, and I'm like, like, who am I waiting for? And like, so then this woman comes in, and fair skin with long brown hair, and kind of slender, and just kind of dorky looking, and like where did we leave off? What's the
Kind
last
of
place you
dorky
heard me?
looking.
Kind of dorky looking. Okay. So kind of looks like Alanis Morissette in my head. Like this Alanis Morissette looking god. And it's funny because I think back of, have you ever watched the movie Dogma?
I was gonna say that. Yeah, yeah. I was
And
gonna
how
ask.
Alanis Morissette played God. And I don't
Yeah.
know if that's just something that residually stayed with me, or you hear these theories, or you start talking to these people who are super religious and have these religious experiences where they claim to have met Jesus and God and all these people. And sometimes God is always presented differently than Jesus would be, because God, the theory of God is everything and everyone, and so therefore God will present themselves as how you want them to you want God to be perceived. And
Mm.
so I don't know if it was just my idea of like how that's how I would want God to be perceived to me, or if God really is a woman. Like, you know what I mean? It's like one of those theories. It's like, well, we don't really know, do we? So yeah, so just like long brown hair, dark eyes, fair skinned, kind of dorky, came up to me and just started smiling, and just was like super energetic, and was like, hey, how are you? Just and I'm just kind of like in awe, and I'm like, and like she was kind of like joking around with me, and she was like, yeah, no, I'm God. Like, and I'm like, okay, like, well, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like that was just kind of like the conversation I was having, and I was just like, well, like what's up? Like why are we? Why am I here? Why are you here? Like, and and it was just kind
That's
of
a
like this weird, like like we're just kind of talking, and it was like this weird like reassurance that she was trying to give me, and it was just like, hey, you're all right, like you're doing all right, like you're fine, and like um, and like it was just one of those things where it's just like it was just so like it was almost like that motherly love, almost like this just
mm.
overwhelming sense of like motherly love, and like understanding, and like just that whole, it was just like this overwhelming feeling all of a sudden, but I wasn't expecting to have. And like it was just kind of like a hey, whatever. And I just, the one thing I remember is like they were rushing her off, and she's like, it's basically like they were like, it's time to go. And so they were like rushing her off, and I was like, well, wait, like, and oh no, that's what she said. She turned around, she goes, aren't you gonna ask me? And I said, what am I supposed to say? She said the same thing that everybody always asks me. Like, you get your one shot to talk to me, and like, aren't you gonna ask me the question? Like, what does it all mean? What am I here for? Like it was just kind of like this like rhetorical kind of like bantering towards me. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like I just want to like, am I doing it right? Like I think that was just like, am I am I on the right path? And like she just turned around and was like, you're doing exactly what I thought you would do. And like, and then was like, you know, that was it. And like descended up the steps and they were gone. And like I pretty much like walked out of the house and I was just like, okay, well, now what? And like I woke up. But it was just like really overpowering. Like I never had a dream like that where it was just like all this feeling of like emotion had like poured into me. And like I don't know. Like did I really meet God or was that just a really weird dream that I had? Um
It was a.
that's
If Alanis is Alanis, if she's God, that's pretty cool because that means she's like having a good ass time all the time. Because at the end of Dogma, they really made her out to be like this toddler. Just I'm enjoying all of this. This
Yeah.
is the good stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was just like this weird, and I've never had a dream like that ever since. I've never had another dream like that. And what was weird is the time in my life that I had that, I just don't ever think that those were ever things that were in the forefront of my brain of like God and religion and you know what I mean? It was just kind of like I don't
Yeah.
even know where that came from or why I had that dream or and I do kind of find it to be funny because I love Dogma and I love the fact that they made it because I was a huge Alanis Morissette fan growing up that they made Alanis Morissette God. I was like, oh man, that's awesome, you know. And I don't know if that just kind of residually stuck with me throughout my whole life of like, you know, God being somebody like Alanis Morissette. But in my dream, like it wasn't Alanis Morissette. I will say that for the record, it was not Alanis. It was she looked kind of like her, but it wasn't her. Um, but just kind of like that kind of, you know, look a little bit like um kind of, you know, but yeah, just kind of it was just really interesting. It's one of those and I don't tell a lot of people about that dream, but it was definitely interesting for sure.
Well, the thing that stuck out with me was that question, the question that you asked. That's
Yeah.
normally that's not necessarily normally the question, but I feel like that is a good runner up. Am I doing it right? Am I
Yeah.
doing it right? That's
Yeah.
because that's what we're all sitting there wondering, like, is this the right thing we're doing? How do we know?
Yeah.
How do we really
How do we
know?
know? Yeah. And I think in that point in my life that I was at a crossroad where I kind of felt like I out of all the things that I wanted to know, like it was just that like am I where I'm supposed to be? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? You know, I think that was, you know, what I the lookout the what part did what's the last thing you heard?
I I don't remember now. I typed out because this it's funny this whole time that every time you fall off, I'll send you a message saying the last couple things you said, and instead of doing that this time, I sent, all right, final round.
Yep, final round. That sounds good. We'll probably wrap it up now anyway. But
Well,
yeah, it
I
was
was
just kind of
yeah, that's what I
sorry.
was gonna say. What you were saying, go.
Yeah, I don't know what the last thing you heard, but like just kind of like when I asked her that question and she just kind of turned around and was like, you know, you're doing everything I thought you would do. Like it's not neither bad nor good. It's just like that kind of like, you know, I made you and I know who you are and I love you anyway. See you later. You know what I mean? Like, and that was just kind of the message that was perceived of like, you're doing exactly everything I thought you would do. You know what
Mm,
I mean? It was like, not that, you know, not like, oh, you're going down the wrong path or, oh, you know, oh, you're on this path of self-righteous, you know, glory.
yeah.
It's just kind of was like, You're doing exactly what I thought you were going to, you know, these are all the things that I thought that you would do. And, you know, you'll figure it. It was just kind of like one of those things of like, I don't know. It's just, it was an interesting dream. That's another one that I'll never forget that one for sure.
I think that's amazing, and I love the fact of a God basically taking the polarity from things and
Hmm.
pretty much just saying, "Hey, man, just chill, just
Yeah.
chill. You
Yeah.
good, you were good."
Yeah.
I I know for me personally, the question that I would ask, I would ask, is Chick-fil-A open on Sundays up there? That would
Yeah.
be that's my burning question.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
Yeah.
if it's not, what's my
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do. I'm
Is
trying to get in so
Chick-fil-A
I can go
still
to
open? Yeah.
Chick-fil-A on a Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, yeah. Can I get a chicken sandwich on Sunday? That's all I need
There
to
we
know.
go.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But I'm gonna wrap it up because
Okay.
well, for more than one reason, we've made it past the 2 hour mark, I believe. And secondly, well, I need to do some other things as well.
There we
But
go.
I
That's
had a blast. I had a blast
I had a
hanging with
blast
you.
too. Yeah, this was
And
awesome.
I don't want to claim the ghost because like the worst part of it, if I'm saying that and then the calendar ends up falling on the floor again, I'm gonna feel bad about it because it's almost Halloween time and I'm causing a resurgence. I'd feel kind of shitty about that.
It's okay. It's all right. We're good. We're good. We'll go do some Ghostbuster shit around here. We'll figure it out. We got it.
Well, I'm gonna drop the bot and I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and then you can go hang and do whatever you need to do.